Listen to the vibes.
The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes Broadcast Network. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes, and I'm very privileged to have Russ Weishi here, and he's in a band called Neybas. Did I get that right?
You did. You did.
All right, sweet. Well, I got to listen to their latest album, and I'm gonna give you my opinion.
Uh-oh.
It's as
Should
if
ask you that first.
It's as if Tom Petty, Roger McGuinn, Ray Davies got together and Sublime came in to help them do the album. That's the way it sounds to me.
Oh, I love you. Thank you.
I'm telling you, I started listening to it. I'm like, man, that kind of sounds like the Kinks. And then I'd hear another one. I'm like, wow, that's kind of like the Byrds. And then I'd hear some sound of Tom Petty, but y'all got that that kind of Caribbean style every once in a while, that reggae sound. I'm like, man, it's kind of like Sublime, and but it's original. So it's like a mixture of all of them, but it's not a copycat.
Oh,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll take the $100 now. No.
Yeah. All right. Well, I gotta find my checkbook, but we'll talk after the.
But Russ, just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, so thank you so much, and I gotta say that the privilege is all mine. You know, I did a little had to look up first and see, okay, what's this podcast usually about? And I saw you had two, one on kind of paranormal activity and one on positivity, motivation, both of which I'm like, well, that's awesome. I'm like, boy, did he see our video Aliens Have Taken My Brain?
I was going to ask you about that song too.
Okay, cool. We'll get to that. But you know, I love the positivity and motivation thing, because one of the things, and I guess I'm going to talk a little bit more about the album than about myself, and maybe some stuff about myself will come out. Other than I am I always call myself a guitarist, a guitarist, songwriter, singer, because I started out as a guitarist, and I think it's probably still kind of where, you know, my brain naturally goes there. And then, you know, years ago, I kind of developed a writing style and singing to go along with it. So, yeah, but the album itself, I really wanted to make an album that was positive, that did kind of put out this, kind of the sort of hooky, upbeat rock and roll that was coming out of radios, coming out of speakers in the early 70s. You know, any rock and roll that was coming out then was just great. It made you feel good. You know. And I wasn't hearing too much, too much of the, we'll call it the, popular music business music that was being released. I wasn't hearing much that made me feel that way. So I decided to write my own. So yeah, I'm so glad you, and you know, it's funny. Ray Davies is, or as he pronounces it, I think Davis. At least that's what I've been told. But I just love his work. And he actually one of those bands in the 70s you know, when they'd release a new tune, it was like, yeah, it was a good song. It was upbeat. It engaged you, you know. And same with Tom Petty.
Oh yeah.
Sure. For sure. I mean, and all those guys knew how to use hooks. In fact, I think I knew I was on to something when I was working on these songs, and it was during the pandemic, and I played them for my wife, and she'd be like, "Oh, I like that." And then the next day, she'd be like, I was up at 3 a.m. with your song going through my head. I'm like, oh, that's what Ray Davies does to me too.
But kind of had that sunny afternoon kind of feel to it, if that makes sense.
It absolutely does. It was not intentional, but it makes sense. With respect to the album, the origins of the album go back to when we were working on our previous album, which is called Flow, which had kind of a water theme to it. So I was looking for pictures and I came across a photo that a friend of mine took, and he had posted on Facebook. He took it back in the late 70s or early 80s. It was of the Sunshine Hotel, which was this notorious flop house in the Bowery. And I'm like, that is an album cover picture, if I've ever seen an album cover picture. But I'm like, but that doesn't work with Flow. But hey, maybe the next album, maybe we'll continue the Elements theme and the next one will be fire, or, sunshine, light, warmth. And as it ended up, there were a couple of songs, 2 songs off of the last album that weren't done by the time that we had to, mix and master. And I was listening to them during the pandemic. I'm like, yeah, I like both of these have this kind of warm feel that I'm looking to kind of portray in the next album. So started writing songs that also had that kind of warm feel, and I wanted to play off Sunshine Hotel as well. So, but ultimately wanted to have it feel the vibe of like a summer vacation, or kind of like those warm, carefree summer days you had when you're a kid. Like you're going to the pool, or to the beach, or to a pond or something, and it's warm, you put your toe in. It's just I wanted to have that sort of feeling come across.
Well, lyrically, I think the one song that sums it all up is the Doorman. That feel,
Beautiful.
I listened to that. I'm like, I think this is something the world needs to listen to, because it's like, put your phone down, pay attention to what's going on around you.
Right on. Yeah. It's funny with respect to the Doorman. That is one I ended up that was probably one of the last songs that I wrote for the album. And I had seen something. It was an article. I think it was in the New York Times. I don't know. It was an article. It was a New York publication, but something about doormen. It was the Doormen's Union were working on a new contract, and there was something like 40 members of the New York City Doormen's Union died from COVID, so that the people could work from home in their apartments. So they'd be there, accepting all of the packages that were coming in, accepting all of the whatever takeout orders, et cetera. 40 of them got COVID doing that. And I'm like, okay, I got to do something that honors the doorman. And so I'm glad that one resonated with you. That's good.
Yeah, I really dug that, and all the songs on there make you feel upbeat. And I came across the one, the aliens have taken my brain.
Yeah.
And which that's why I was like, this is kind of a Roger McGuinn kind of feel to it, like, hey, Mr. Spaceman.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly.
And I like that kind of stuff where you could just have fun when you're listening to it. I'd like to listen to serious music from time to time, and sometimes there's the blues because I'm feeling down. But hey, this is one of those albums I would listen to cruising, going to go back home to see the family or something.
Awesome. Or maybe after you see them.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually Aliens Have Taken My Brain is one of the songs that I mentioned before that we had started to work on with the last album. And I just loved the way it sounded. There was something about it. I was like, okay, I want to kind of replicate this vibe with more of the songs. So yeah, and that one's actually one we have. It's our first video off the new album, and it's something I put it up on YouTube. It's under Neybas. Aliens Have Taken My Brain. Neybas being Neybas. Yeah, trying to make it difficult for people to find us. That's N as in Nancy, EY, B as in boy, AS as in Sam. Anyway, maybe I should have used the NATO alphabet. But anyways, but that one was one. If you watch the video, I started. I wanted to make it kind of tongue in cheek and fun, and included some footage that I took out my window of a bear accosting a hummingbird feeder. And I took it from there, and I cut it, and you'll see if you watch the video. It's made for laughs, but yeah, I really love the vibe of that. So I'm glad you had that reaction to it. That's awesome.
Yeah, there was a few songs that kind of reminded me of let's just say partaking of the vegetation of the earth. I can't mention the name of it, but
it's actually, it's funny. It's legal in the state that's 3 miles away from me. And I think for all intents and purposes, it's legal in my state now too, but I'm not quite, but yes, it definitely has that vibe to it. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but
well, what was the name of the song? With how high? I forgot the name of it now.
A little too high.
A little too high. Yeah, that's what
so. A little too high. That one's another song that that actually got us the explicit content thing on Apple Music, etc.
Which is why we can't even mention it.
I know, which is why we can't mention it now. Exactly. We don't want this one to have, and actually it's high HI. So, but yeah, that's about this blind date that takes place in a state that's legalized the aforementioned plant. Herb. Yes, herbal essence. Which actually, it's funny. That song came about after I demoed a song for our producer, a guy named John Bolduck, and who's just a phenomenal engineer, producer, musician, arranger. The list goes on. He's got an amazing ear, amazing talent, and really, the album wouldn't have happened without him, because he really helped kind of corral us, and especially with the arrangement and stuff. But so I demoed this song for him, and he misheard a lyric, and he said, he said his favorite part of the song was the misheard lyric. And I was like, no, that's not what I sang, but that gives me an idea for a song. A little too high. And he had this, he mentioned a couple of things and so yeah, I wrote it, and there you have it. But that's one of the reggae type songs that's in there.
Yeah, there was a bit of that sound in several of the songs, and it's like, I love this, because
cool.
A lot of the greatest artists have put that sound in. We were just talking about brain fart time. Robert Palmer.
Yeah,
doing some reggae in his music. Of course, the Police, they put a lot of that in their music, and I love the style, and you're not ripping them off, if that makes sense.
It does. So we want that was one thing, we wanted to, it's kind of like paying homage to some of these phenomenal artists, but at the same time come up with something totally original. So like, I want any of the songs, I want to make it feel like it sounds familiar, like it sounds like an old friend, or it sounds like a, something that you may have heard before, but you haven't. You haven't heard. It's not taking a melody from, I don't know, another song and just changing one note. It's like something that really is kind of new and original, but familiar sounding.
Yeah. Now that song Pearl,
Yeah.
Was there a specific meaning behind that song, or is this one of those you wrote?
Yeah, well, actually, it's kind of funny. That one came about. There's another song on the album called "Sunshine Girl,"
Mm-hmm.
and which is when it's got kind of a ska. That I think that may be one of the Sublime, type songs you were thinking of. So Pearl it's supposed to be this kind of withdrawn, shy girl staying at the hotel, and it's a bit of a spoiler alert. So Sunshine. So I was writing Sunshine Girl, and I wasn't quite happy with it, and so I changed around some of the chord progressions and did like this some augmented chords, which is what you hear in the basic chord progression during the verse. And I was like, oh no, this is a brand new song. I've got to write new lyrics. I've got to write everything, it's supposed to be kind of a flashback song that provides a glimpse of Sunshine Girl before she got all sunny.
Okay.
Yeah. So, the thing with this and kind of, I hesitate to say it's a concept album. However, it's a concept album. It's one of those things. I think because we had these songs that were written before I saw the picture of the sun. So we had the two songs that were written before the Sunshine Hotel picture. And so I wanted to use those, but I didn't want to rewrite them and make them, like Sunshine. And I felt like put sunshine in every song. That's going to get old.
Right.
So what I decided to do is, instead of going full out on like this concept album that had kind of a linear storyline, I decided to do it kind of like through the eyes of different people. So you got the Doorman, you got the Sunshine Girl, you've got Jack and Jane from the first song. I'll tell you more about that in a sec. And so it's almost like there's a James Joyce Ulysses, which, that novel talks about, it really chronicles the events in Dublin on, it was June 16th, 1904 or something like that. But it's through the eyes of all these different characters. So I wanted to take a little bit of that, but then you got like Tarantino's Pulp Fiction, which is not circular storytelling. It's kind of like,
A little bit here and there and all over the place.
Exactly. Oh, I shouldn't say it's circular storytelling, not linear storytelling. So I kind of wanted it to be like these snapshots of lives, but not necessarily all happening on the same day. And it could be at different points. And I wanted to leave it up to the listener to make the connections and kind of, create the story. So back to Ray Davies, I always thought he did an awesome job with that. Like, think about Lola, the song Lola. I remember hearing that when I was a kid, and it just intrigued me. I'm like, wait, is Lola a guy? Is it a girl? He never quite comes out. He kind of makes allusions towards it, but or like Ode to Billy Joe by Bobby Gentry. Remember that song? I mean, it's like, that's one of those stories where you're like, wait, what were they throwing off the into the Tallahatchie? What is that? That kind of intrigue. So I wanted to get some of that and have people, hopefully people will enjoy it enough to be like, oh, and make up their own stories. That's fine. Maybe someday I'll have, if it gets big enough, we'll, see, okay, what's your interpretation of it? So.
Well, those storytelling songs are always fun.
Oh yeah.
I could name off probably a million of them. How in the world you come up with Neybas?
Neybas?
Or Neybas, excuse me.
So the origin of Neybas, or the Neybas, depending on my mood, goes back to when we were in college, and there were the house where one of the members originally lived was called the Neybas house, and it was kind of like, howdy neighbor, or someone said, hey, well, we're all Neybas now. And so there was a group of us in the band who lived in what we all lived off campus, and we'll call them party houses. We had some of the party houses off campus, and we would get together and jam. And we played a muscular dystrophy benefit at a bar on campus called Ted's, which was like our favorite hangout. The reaction was, I was blown away. I mean, it was supposed to be like a one-off thing, just like we're just gonna jam and play and have fun. And I'd played in bands before and done pretty well, but I don't think I'd ever been flashed as much as I was in our first gig. And actually, that went on for some time. Where the women lifted their shirts and their dresses, and I was like, I think we're on to something. So yeah, so the name stuck. It's one of those things, like, people who get it love the name. It's kind of a hassle because I've got to spell it out and then explain it, but hey, it is what it is.
Well, you won't get confused with anybody else.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. Although I discovered a couple of years ago, there's an area in the Dominican Republic that's called Neybas. And apparently it's this like I haven't been there yet, but apparently it's this beautiful, kind of tropical paradise. So yeah, so that kind of connected back to the Sunshine Hotel, warm, sunny theme as well. It just all seemed to kind of coalesce.
Throughout your career, you've opened up for some pretty big names, haven't you?
We've played with quite a few. But before we started going, you and I were talking about Rick Derringer,
yes,
who I just love, and we were both talking about what an amazing guitarist he is.
Yeah. Doesn't get enough credit, for sure.
I totally agree. I was telling you this before, but worth telling for the podcast. When we opened for him a number of years back, and this is one of those great moments I'll just never forget, is like looking over while we're playing, looking over, and there he is on the side of the stage with this huge smile on his face. I'm like, oh my God. It's Rick Derringer, okay, keep playing, and then afterwards he's like, oh, you guys are good. And I'm like, oh, thank you, Mr. Derringer, sort of thing, and then he got up and just smoked us. I mean, he was just amazing, playing like these badass Texas blues. So yeah. Opened up for him. Opened up for some other big names as well, but not necessarily in our genre. We opened up for Ratt and Poison and Great White. That again, not our genre, but somehow or another we got an opening slot there a number of years back. But yeah, so it's always humbling playing with Felix Cavaliere was another one we played with from the Rascals. And it's always humbling because these are some people who influenced me, listened to growing up, and it's like I said, humbling to be able to play with them.
There's some people, I guess it's better that you never meet them.
Yeah,
because there's been a few that I've met and I was like, they kind of turned me off after that. But then there's some that I'm so glad that I got to. I interviewed the guys from The Circle.
Oh wow!
And Don Daneman, he's just a remarkable man. Those guys, they actually said that I was a friend to the band in one of their posts, and I was like, man, that it may not seem like much to somebody else, but for me that was a humbling moment.
Yeah.
Because I mean that was the music. I always had a copy of their albums when I would go on my long trips. That's, Red Rubber Ball, man, it gets you going. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean?
That was Circle with a Y, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cyrkle.
I think Circle, Red Rubber Ball, was that written by Paul Simon
I
for them? One
I
of them.
think that I'd have to go back and look. He actually answered that question, I believe. I want to say it was Paul Simon, but I'm not going to swear to it.
Because I just remember reading something recently that, recently being within the last 5 years, time's going faster, but he wrote it and gave it to them, and like Art Garfunkel was pissed or something, So he's like, that was a great song, why'd you give it to them? Yeah, they were a great, were they from New York? I'm trying to remember.
I think they're from Ohio.
Oh, okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
But Don messaged me one day and he's like, hey man, I got a new song coming out. Is there any chance that I could come on and talk about it? I'm like, are you kidding me? Of course.
Wow.
Man gave me his phone number. And I'm like,
Wow.
I've got Don Denneman's phone number in my phone.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And then
it's funny because that's the type of music that, again, that I think, and kind of the vibe that I wanted to evoke with this album. And I don't think I got quite the vibe that they got with Red Rubber Ball, but that type of music that was coming out then, you had this different vibe. It was like, I don't know, I don't want to say positive, but it just,
but it was happy.
Something about that energy.
Very, very happy music.
Yeah.
It was getting away from all the protesting and all. It was just to have a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
And now people call it corny, because it wasn't that hard message. And but I don't care. Bands like the Ohio Express and even even the Archies, that was fun music. It was just escape, have a good time, party.
Like Love Grows Where My Rosemary Goes, that type of song. Was that Edison Lighthouse or something? I mean, that was music that I was hearing in the radio. It brings me back to like a kind of a feel good time,
I mean, our generation appreciates it, but then the generations that come after us, they think that music's corny, and I'm sorry, I beg to differ. I think the stuff they play is corny.
I agree. I think it's funny. I was I had a gig. I play with a number of I shouldn't say a number. I was playing with more bands before the pandemic, just to kind of make ends meet. But was playing with another really great band called the Mambo Sons.
I've heard of them.
Play with them as their kind of backup guitarist for Tom Guerra, who's a phenomenal guitarist and songwriter. And at the set break, I went into the restroom, and there's something over the PA was some, I don't know, is the thing with a lot of today's music is it's like boom, 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 boom. And then some like kind of quasi rap thing. And I don't know what the language was. I've studied a bunch of languages. I don't know what language it was. I suspect it was made up.
Probably.
There's this young guy, early 20s, and he's like, Siri, what song is this? And I almost said, oh wait, no, I don't want to say that because I might not get us. It might get you kicked off YouTube. But yeah, I didn't. What came to mind wasn't kind. I said, just don't say anything and walk out of the restroom. But so for me, it's great if it has a beat and it's danceable. And we tried to make these songs kind of, get your hips moving.
Mm-hmm.
But does it have to be boom, 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 boom? I mean, that's, might as well be a polka. you know, just 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Anyways,
Mhm.
I'll probably get some hate mail off of this portion of it.
Well, don't get me wrong. I mean, I appreciate the fact that these kids, they've got their own sound and, you know, the stuff they
Sure.
love. And, you know, just think of what our parents thought about the music we listened to.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, my dad hated it. I'll never forget. He came in. He had just bought our first stereo, and he was at work, and of course I had to figure out how to use it. And he walked in during, you know, the song Arthur, The Crazy World of Arthur Brown.
Oh
Fire?
yeah. Fire.
Yep. He walked in. You're gonna burn, burn, burn. What the hell is this? I was in so much trouble. I'll never forget that. Oh no, he was not happy.
I remember when I first started listening to Kiss.
Yeah.
My mom, I thought she was gonna have a heart attack, and I would sneak around to the little corner store and I would buy the packs of bubblegum cards.
Oh yeah.
And I had the whole set. You know, you could flip it over on the back and make a big picture out of it. The whole
I
9
remember
yards.
those. Yep.
And so I hid them away. At least I thought I did. And my mom found them and threw them all in the trash. And,
Oh no.
you know, I bought them again years later, but it ended up costing me $60 for the set, where back then I probably spent $5.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's got their own sound. I
Absolutely.
understand, but I don't have to like it.
Exactly. Well, you know, it's funny because Kiss, I mean, I was listening to trying to think, was it Destroyer? I was listening to some you know, mid 70s Kiss songs. I'm like, wow, this is, in some respects, it's kind of tame by, you know, like what ended up coming. I mean, think of Guar or, you know,
Sepultura, Slayer.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I get in the mood to listen to something like that, but for me, most of the time I'm listening to 60s, 70s, yeah, a lot of the rock stuff from the 80s.
Yeah.
Actually, a band that I think ought to get more credit is Zebra.
Oh yeah, I remember those guys. Yeah.
And UFO.
And UFO. Yeah.
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 I'm gonna try to get Clive Edwards on my show if I can.
Are those guys still playing?
Yes, they
That's what
are.
I remember seeing some recently. I thought I saw they were playing, maybe even in Texas.
Man, if they're playing in Texas, I got to find out where.
Okay, well, this may have been like my perception for time seems to be going away during this pandemic. I've like, yeah, oh yeah, it was a year or two ago. No, it was 5 years ago. You know, I don't know if you're having the same. I know a number of people have been telling me they're having the same issue.
Oh man, I tell you what, old age is creeping up on me quick.
Yeah, me too.
You know, I used to joke about, you know, when Fred Sanford used to say, I can't because my arthritis is acting up.
That's
so
right.
I would do that. And now that mine's actually flaring up,
yeah,
I don't joke about it anymore.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. Well, and you know, with respect to that, during the lockdown, myself and another the other guitarist in the band, I call him Toad, Nicholas Todd Eckert, and I call him Toad. Or that's what I didn't come up with that nickname. He's had that since he was a kid. But we were both sidelined by injuries, which made it too painful and if not impossible to play. And you know, I'll talk myself. I had a really bad fall a number of years back. I fell 30 feet free fall down a stairwell. And as they say, it's not the fall, it's the quick stop that'll kill you. And so the concrete floor was the quick stop for me. And the only reason I'm here on your show now is that it was not the foundation of the building I was in. There was a sub basement, but I ended up punching a hole into the concrete with my my left side, but specifically my left arm, which is my fretting hand, and just shattered the wrist and bones in my hand. And I was in the hospital for a bit, and they said, nope, you're not playing guitar again. And it's like, I'm going to play guitar again. I could just feel it. I'm going to play guitar again. And got myself, worked at it, and I don't know if you can see, obviously your audio only won't be able to see, but you can tell how my left, see how my left, this is my left over here, is kind of deformed at the wrist. So I had to adapt my style. I had to adapt my fretting, etc. And it took time, but it was the kind of perseverance and stubborn fellow, I guess. But
anything that happens to you like that, your attitude is going to determine where your limits are.
Exactly. And I know a lot of people have been through that sort of thing, and they can totally relate. I think some of the issues that I'm experiencing now are probably a result of that fall many years ago, like some herniated discs in my neck and back. And what happened was a nerve got pinched in my neck and impacted the whole radial nerve. And so now my right hand wasn't working. This is during the pandemic. And I wasn't able to play guitar. And I found that not having a guitar in my hand, I was kind of struggling to write, because it's like, okay, well, where I need to play around with chords. Where does the melody go from here? Where does the song go from here? Where's the kind of the chord progression go? And I just wasn't able to do it. And so and then shingles attacked that same nerve, and I had neuropathy, and so I was sidelined for a long time during the pandemic, for the most part. I mean, I guess technically we're still in it, but yeah, that was a drag. But I kept at it. Physical therapy and some chiropractic, and I'm able to play again, and the songs came back. It was almost like there was this pent up thing, like I wanted to write and I couldn't. And once I was able to play again, then the rest of the songs kind of like wrote themselves for the album. I probably wrote 5 or 6 songs once I got better, and those are actually some of my favorite songs on the album, I think.
Everything happens for a reason.
I totally agree. Yep.
I've told the same story a million times, but I have diabetes, and I know a lot of people get diabetes, but if you don't take care of it, there's other consequences that go along with it. Neuropathy being one of them.
Yep.
But apparently, from what I read, this disease that I got, could be brought on by diabetes, where I have something that's eating away at the bones in my spine. And so what happens is it looks like you're walking into a cave, and it also grinds all my discs away. Yeah, it sucks. So
I could totally, having these disc issues, I know what you're talking about, because you just got to move the wrong way. It hits a nerve, and you're down for the count, because there's nothing you can do. You can't tell the nerve, oh no, it's okay. The nerve just will like shut down, goes into the muscle groups go into protect mode.
Well, I've wrecked so many nerves that I was already having diabetic nerve pain in my feet, so I'm taking medication for that. But now I find that I have a hard time picking things up or even holding things. Exactly. Constantly dropping stuff.
Yes.
Which why I think my wife needs to carry my phone around for me. But I have to walk with a cane, that whole kind of thing. And I had to retire early. I could have easily gotten bitter. I could have
Mhm.
just gave up or just vegetated on the couch and not done anything. But I wanted to bring a positive message out here. And so it motivated me to do this show.
That's awesome.
And so, that it's all depends on your attitude. You can take a situation, you could be sour about it, you could be bitter about it, or you could turn it around. And so I just felt like this actually gave me an opportunity. I've met so many wonderful people doing this.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So I could totally relate to like when I had the issue with the neuropathy on my right side, I couldn't, so you can relate, couldn't lift a glass of water.
Mhm.
It's like our entire kind of existence is based on having an opposable thumb and being able to grab stuff,
Yeah.
from buttoning your pants, opening a door.
Yep.
It's rough when you can't really like grasp the way you need to. And I kind of went through a similar thing where it's like, well, I can sit here and feel sorry for myself, but that's not going to get me anywhere good. And I actually started studying. I've been interested in Buddhism for a very long time, probably for 40 years, and kind of dip my toe in the water with it. But I started studying more about different meditation techniques.
Oh yeah.
And actually one of the songs on the album, which is called Big Love, is based on it's essentially based on a Buddhist sutra called the Metta, and it's based on also some of the meditation techniques that I was taught by there's an American monk by the name of Bhikkhu Bodhi, who has done just phenomenal translations of these original suttas, as they were called, or sutras as we call them now. But from the Pali, he translated them into English, and he has a weekly metta meditation Zoom call and taught us, these basic principles. And so I worked those into Big Love. I wanted to come up with a song that is like, just sending positive messages out there, like maybe smiling with a pleasant abiding in your body and in your mind. Pray you're well and finally happy, easily satisfied. I mean, it's all kind of like just putting out good vibes like that for our fellow beings, but that all came about, to your point, and I know you get this. It's like, when you're down like that, it's like, okay, it's more energizing to try and think positive.
Mm-hmm.
and trying to get that heart energy flowing through you. So that, I look at the last couple of years as, man, there's a lot of bad stuff that happened, but out of that, it's like the compost for having something good grow.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But we have to do it. We can't rely on the government or,
nope.
The people on social media to do it. We have to do it.
Nope. Yep. You can't rely on a meme. There's a lot of memes out there. I see people sharing them, like, yeah, that's nice, but no, you got to make the effort yourself. It's kind of like, yeah.
I do spend a lot of time on YouTube. That's kind of like my world, I guess you'd say, in a way.
Yep.
So I have to keep up with certain things to know what I'm gonna do. And I see all these videos, it's all this negative stuff, and people saying, well, this is what's going on social media, and you would think that everybody hates each other, but I go to the store and I get greeted by nothing but, good people. My neighbor, he doesn't care what my politics are. We smile, shake hands, and have a good conversation.
Yeah. It's funny. Generally for myself and the band, the only social media we're doing is Facebook, and even that, I think it's gotten a little better, but I suspect that's because what with Facebook's algorithms, they're keeping people apart, but I think that with social media, a lot of it, people will say stuff on social media that they wouldn't say if you were talking with them and having a friendly conversation.
That's right. Right.
And, a lot of times, man, if someone said that in a bar to somebody else, I would expect that person to get slugged,
Oh, yeah.
And for some reason, people just feel like it gives them this license to trash others, and it's not helpful.
No. You can look at it as it could be like a hammer. So a hammer, you can use it to build a beautiful home or any kind of structure. That's what social media is supposed to be. But you could easily take that hammer and knock somebody upside the head with it. It can be used either way, and I think, I don't know why we're so addicted to that kind of negativity. I don't understand, why are we so addicted to it? The number one podcasting is about unsolved crimes.
Yeah. People, I've noticed that, unsolved crimes is hugely popular with people. And I don't know. There's this fascination that we have as humans with that side. And I think it's important to recognize it and not be like, oh, no, it doesn't really exist. Recognize it as part of the human experience, but don't get too much into it, But yeah, I mean, there's all the dark, we all, that darkness, but
think how great this world would be if we would try to lift each other up.
Absolutely.
I hope, and that's my goal, is that I can bring people on this show that could be an inspiration for others to not only do great for themselves, but to do great for other people.
Yeah. I do think there is, we'll call it good works, doing that stuff for other people. It can really make you feel good. And, so I'm having one of those moments where my speech center may have shut down, but
happens to me a lot, brother.
Yeah. I tell you what, when you first got the invitation for this, I'm like, what if I have a Tourette's moment? Sort of thing. But yeah, so doing, a lot of times, do something good for somebody else, make a donation for some, that actually can make you feel good as well, especially if it's something if you to like a local food bank or something like that.
Just your time.
Yeah, or just your
donate your time.
Exactly. That can be the biggest gift that and the best gift you can possibly give. And it's fun as we're talking between what you just said about the hammer and this. So you're inspiring me. I haven't decided which element we're going to focus on yet next for the next album, but it's either space or earth. But what you're talking about is kind of inspiring me to go, okay, yep. There's a song here. There's lyrics here. There's a message here that I'm going to have to try and wrestle out of me. So it's a song.
I want to get the credit on the album for it.
I will. You will definitely be getting a thanks. That's in addition to the check that I got right afterwards. But
you should do something with animals.
Animals.
See, I'm known as Coyote, so that's a good place to start.
Ooh, I saw a coyote. We had a coyote in our yard the other day. Yeah, I love animals. We got one of my kitties is sitting over here right now. In fact, the song Sunshine Girl that I mentioned before, the track Sunshine Girl, that originally, I originally got the idea because I'd be looking at my cats lying in the sun, and they're all girls. They're all lying in the sun. I mean, I start singing Sunshine Girl to them. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, there's a song there. But yeah, the animal, that's a great idea. I mean, yeah, Pink Floyd did it, but it doesn't have to be the same.
You don't have to sing about pigs. So.
Pigs or dogs, or maybe. But yeah, it's funny. Before, when you mentioned like late 60s, early 70s, the other night I found myself listening to Pink Floyd's first album, Piper at the Gates of Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
And
Syd Barrett.
I mean, that is, Syd Barrett was just amazing. And also a, kind of a warning. He put out a warning as well. But I have to say that could be my favorite Floyd album. I mean, the other ones are just phenomenal. They're all great, Dark Side and Wish You Were Here and Animals and The Wall, all great, all like, masterfully done. But there's something about the energy on that album, the experimentation, there's kind of like a new frontier. And to me, like now I listen to it, I'm like, wow, it feels more alive. Now, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, what? That's a mess. No, I want to hear another Dark Side of the Moon. But yeah, it's just brilliant.
There's something to say about a band that will go out and experiment instead of that same cookie cutter sound. Like, I mean, I hate to sound repetitive, but that's almost the way things are now. It's everybody sounds like everybody else. Pretty much. And a lot of and I think what it is, I was thinking about this earlier, in the event you asked me if there's any new artists I listen to. Most of the newer artists I'm listening to are ones that are either unsigned, small indie, or I hear on college radio or something like that. Because so much of what I hear coming out of radios, like if I'm on the car, listening to some of the more popular music around here, to your point, it all sounds kind of the same. I feel like, the bands are trying to sound like either, I don't want, maybe not Nirvana, but some of the, late 90s, a lot of the girl rockers are trying to sound like Alanis Morissette meets I don't know, Kate Bush.
Yeah. And they're all kind of this. It's all this cookie cutter thing. And I think what it is, it's that big business mentality. The big business hates risk. They don't want to take the chance. And
that's what killed metal.
Exactly.
Because I mean, I was really big into the heavy metal back then, and then it just got to be, well, everybody had to have a ballad on their album, and you had to have that arena theme song on their album, and it just got to be the same old. Where when they first came out, like, whoa, this is so cool, and then it just got to be I can't tell the bands apart anymore.
Yeah. And to me, that's when, I mean, well, I don't know if it's the same, this probably wouldn't work timeline wise, but when grunge came out, I know I was listening to that because I heard more of that experimentation and that, like, the different sort of attitude, kind of like what I was talking about before with the first Pink Floyd album, versus formulaic, where it's, to your point, all right, we've got to have a ballad and that's going to be the giant single. But you know, it's that really did, it took, like, you know, you listen to Metallica's first couple of albums, it's like, I mean, oh my God.
They didn't even sound the same on each album. That's what was incredible.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then, so by the late 90s, they were, you know, I mean, still amazing, incredibly talented. But yeah, I didn't hear that same level of kind of experimentation.
Last album I listened to from Metallica was the Black Album.
I was going to say the Black Album was probably
I mean, I get it. You know, you want to make some money, so you make it a little bit more radio friendly, I guess you'd say.
Yep.
And it was good, but it just wasn't Metallica to me anymore. And I mean, I go back and I listen to, you know, Master of Puppets and Ride the Lightning and all that kind of stuff. Cool, but the stuff that came out afterwards, I don't know, man. I didn't care for them. I mean, they're a great band and they sound good, but it's not what I liked. And
yep,
I like bands that, like, okay, let's take Yes for example. Yes could change their sound, but you knew it was Yes.
Yeah.
And they didn't go too far astray. Let's put that, but they knew how to change, and that's why it was prog rock, you know.
Yeah.
Poco, or, you know, I don't know, Pink Floyd. I mean, it's hard to pick two Pink Floyd albums and put them together and say they sound the same, because they don't.
Yeah. No, you've got a really good point there. I mean, there's some similarities, and there are a couple of sounds that they reused, but other than that, like, certainly, you know, The Wall sounds nothing like Animals, which sounds nothing like Wish You Were Here, which sounds really nothing like Dark Side of the Moon, which I like Metal with the album before Dark Side. But yeah, they didn't do any other songs like Echoes after that, you know. So yeah, no, I agree. It's and I don't know what I don't know what's behind that. Is it really like, is that really audience / sales driven? Which again, that's, you know, probably the record company saying, oh no, you can't put out a 19-minute song.
Right. Well, I still think Pink Floyd put out stuff that they thought or they wanted, you know. They wanted to do something for their fans, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't about, oh, the record company's going to make us do a foo-foo song, we're going to do our own thing. And you know, there are some pop songs that I do like. I mean, people don't realize, I guess, that the Beatles were a pop band.
Sure.
Even though they did a lot of experimenting and their sound changed quite a bit, but they did put out a lot of pop songs.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
You know, it's funny. I used to think that the Beatles, so you listen to what was coming out in the 60s, and you obviously, you know, I think, well, not this isn't, you know, any breaking news here, but the Beatles were kind of setting the stage, and then people would try and copy that sound, you know. And then they put out Abbey Road, and that's it, you know. And to me, a lot of rock, kind of like your mainstream rock in the early 70s, the sound really didn't progress much beyond kind of the Abbey Road, you know, type of sound, which is a little bit more organic. You know, they weren't experimenting as much. And then I felt kind of the same thing happened with some of grunge. Like, it didn't go much beyond like Nirvana's last album, or you know, the even like, I don't know, Soundgarden. Actually, I say that maybe I'm sure there's some holes in my theory there, but anyways, it's weird. Like, those trendsetters can create a new sound, and then, but then, like, where's it go from there? yeah, I guess you have to wait for another trendsetter to come along, you know? Yeah.
Well, I will say your album it's not like set on a certain formula. So
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
I really dig the fact that you got songs that don't sound the same, that you've added these, I don't know, these elements of the reggae and the even some jazz. And I mean, I almost kind of got a hint of, oh, this is something I could hear on a Zappa album or something, you know.
Oh, nice. Which
So
is like, I know in what we were talking about earlier, he's like your kind of paragon. So that, thank you. I mean, I love Zappa too. He's just amazing, or was just amazing.
and I'm not just saying that because you're sending me a check. No, I appreciate it, and I definitely want to put the links to get your albums in the description. And
Cool.
Do y'all have a website?
We do. It's neybahz.com. So again, N is in Nancy, EYB is in Baker, A Alpha S Sahara, neybas.com. And so our last two albums are available on the website. The album, our older albums, so we got 5 total, and I am looking to get those remastered, and then we'd have those up on the website too. I keep, that's one of those things I keep procrastinating on. But yeah, someday they will be remastered.
Well, I guess it'd just be as simple to put the website up, and I'll put the link to your Facebook as well.
Okay, cool. Yep. Yeah, we have a Facebook page as well. It's funny. I find that actually, I think I get better engagement, like off my personal page, which is interesting, because I think what happens is every time I post, like for example, I posted the video for Aliens Have Taken My Brain, and I put it on my page, and I put it on the Neybas page, and I mean probably 5 to 7 times more engagement on my page than on the Neybas page. I'm like, why is that? And I see, boost this post for $10. So I suspect I mean, this sounds like conspiracy theory. I suspect they're holding down views until I pay to advertise
Yeah, I get those emails all the time too.
Yeah.
And we give you X amount of dollars off if you'll just pay for this boost. I'm going, I don't have that kind of money to spend.
Yeah, right. Are you on Facebook as well? Or are you?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I will send you a friend request.
All right, awesome. I will gladly accept it. So yeah, like I said, I don't, that's probably that's really is our primary, if not our only social media, other than YouTube. We're on YouTube too, but
I'll put the link to that as well.
All right, awesome.
Yeah. I wish the best for you guys, because I really enjoyed it. Really did. I get music all the time, and there's stuff that I'm like, yeah, this is kind of cool, but not something I would listen to all the time. And I got y'all's album, and I was going on. I could see us making that next trip, cruising and listening to this. So
awesome. Then, I will have to send you our last album as well, because both of them are definitely like road trip albums, where it's like you can put it in and listen to it start to finish. The last one, I think we did a better job with making it so the last song, it like automatically goes back into the first song, and you feel it, so it can stay in your your car's CD player for as long as you'd like it to.
Well, honestly, it's hard to find music that I could listen to all the way through. I mean, I could listen to a Van Halen album all the way through, a Zeppelin album, those kind of guys, Who, Rolling Stones, that kind of thing. But to find something that's newer that I can listen to all the way through is very difficult. And I could actually say, honestly, I could listen to this without taking it out of the CD player.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
So,
You.
Highly
Russ,
recommended.
I noticed. So I see two of my influences. One being the Who.
Yes,
On
actually got to go see them about a month or two ago.
Oh, nice. Zach Starkey is he is an amazing drummer. He really is. And then I see this Zoso.
Oh
So,
yeah.
Page. I mean, to me, Page is like, amazing guitarist, amazing songwriter, but what he doesn't get as much credit for with, I think, the general public, but probably you or I would, is his producing and arranging.
Oh yeah.
He is, I mean, he's just an amazing producer, amazing arranger. I suspect he's a really good engineer too, because I based on what I've read, I think he's one of those guys who knows about mic placement, how to play around with mic placement to get the drums to sound bigger or the guitar to sound bigger or tighter or whatever. Yeah, he's just
Well,
we're lucky to have been here when those guys were,
oh man, to say the least. I don't know what my life would have been if I hadn't heard those kind of bands.
Seriously, both of those, Quadrophenia or like, Physical Graffiti. I mean, those are albums that got me through some rough times when I was younger, and inspired me to play guitar and to play guitar in that sort of fashion.
It's funny you mentioned Quadrophenia because that's basically what that whole concert was called that album.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you got to hear a few things from I think It's Hard and Face Dances, that kind of thing. But man, they didn't even play My Generation though.
Wow.
And they played and a lot of Tommy. They played a lot of Tommy.
So I'm going to have to see if they're going to be around here. I know they were supposed to be coming to Connecticut. I got to look into that. I saw a couple of years ago. I had the opportunity, and I'll say also the privilege of seeing Pete Townsend, and I think it was the Boston Symphony or the Boston Pops perform Quadrophenia at Tanglewood, which is this great music venue up in the Berkshires. And oh my God, it was just amazing. It was just amazing. I think I started crying at one point because he came out. You know the song "You Stop Dancing" off of. That's not the name of the song. It's on the second side. It's the second side of Quadrophenia, but at the end it goes, "You stop dancing." He came out and he was dancing with the lead singer, where Townsend played the Godfather. So like the Punk and the Godfather, he played the Godfather.
Yeah.
And so he came out and he's dancing with the guy, and he goes, "You stop dancing," and he just like he fades off stage, and it was like, I mean, I don't know, something about the way that was choreographed just got me so choked up. I don't know why. He's just brilliant with that. He understands some sort of deeper, emotional content that I think, a lot of, I'm again, not really hearing in a lot of the newer stuff, but I don't know.
So another thing, the Who, they knew how to experiment.
They sure did.
Man, they could sound rough and almost metal-like to almost Beatlesque in some songs, but they definitely had their own sound. And
absolutely, they weren't afraid to use humor. They weren't, you know what I mean? They could be sensitive. Like some of those lyrics are like actually pretty sensitive, as far as like, kind of showing, heart stuff. But Daltrey sings it with such force, and
the dude's almost 80 years old, and
it's amazing.
He still sounds like he's in his 20s, dude.
He is amazing. I mean, my guess is he can't hit some of those really high notes, but
I beg to differ.
Really.
Okay, so when you listen to this particular episode, watch my intro. I actually captured him doing his oh my God, the song. Why has it eluded me? Because I had to do it on the spot.
Won't get
But
fooled again.
Yeah, I think it was Won't Get Fooled Again. He goes, yeah.
Yeah.
I captured that on my phone and I incorporated it into my intro.
Cool.
So when you hear it, you'll be like, dude, I mean, everybody in the house was just flabbergasted that he could hit as high a note and with as much strength. And I mean, it almost brought a tear to your eye. I kid you not, man. You just had to been there to see it.
Oh, I believe it. Did you have you heard any of their last album?
I've heard, yes, I have heard it. I don't know. I wasn't crazy about it, but
there was one song I actually really enjoyed. Now I can't remember what it was. It didn't quite stick with me, but I really enjoyed it. But to your point, his voice was like, oh my God, it's got so much character to it.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it just grabbed me, Yeah,
it shocked me that guy could still hit the notes he does. I mean, we went and saw Judas Priest, and Rob Halford still sounds like he's 20 years old.
I believe it. He's
incredible.
Yeah, he's another one of just amazing singers.
Man.
Yeah.
I see we could have these conversations all day long.
I know. Well, it was funny. I was just looking at the time. I'm like, uh-oh. I noticed most of your podcasts are a little bit, probably under an hour, but we've been talking for about an hour. So
hey, it's you could come back and we could just have a conversation about that.
Well, anytime, if you need someone, just let me know and we'll talk music. We'll talk, because we haven't really touched that much on Zappa. I bet we could do a connection going like Zappa. Remember we mentioned Adrian Belew before, going to King Crimson, and that, think of all the different musicians going off of there and all the different bands they played in.
Yeah,
and all the really incredible music that they created and are still creating. I mean, Adrian Belew is still he's still out there. He's still working it. So
King Crimson, that's another one of those progressive bands. It's man, they could just do it all.
Oh, absolutely. I saw them in 1984 on their Three of a Perfect Pair tour, and I went right up front, was right front of the stage, and the song Indiscipline off of their Discipline album. There's this part where he does this talk, I repeat myself when under stress. I repeat myself when under stress. He goes, tonight, I'm going to rip the headstock off of my guitar. And then when I'm done, I'm going to walk over and rip the headstock off of Robert's guitar. And Fripp just looks at him and like Fripp the whole night, just completely like impassive. And he looked at him, he's like, he raises an eyebrow. Oh, it was just the funniest moment, but it's just one of those always stick with me,
It reminds me of John Entwistle after Pete would smash his guitar and John's holding his bass like,
yeah, exactly. No, you're not touching this.
Hilarious. Well, I definitely would love to have you come back sometime, man. Awesome. I've enjoyed this.
Yeah, me too. It's great to meet you face to face, and it's really been an honor and a privilege for me to be here with you, because I just I love, like I said, I love the whole kind of like motivation of this podcast, and the fact that you're you heard this and go, oh yeah, I heard the positivity, and you liked it. I just love that, man. You just made my day. So thank you.
Man, your time is definitely appreciated.
Oh man, anytime.
And speaking of, I want to thank all of y'all for joining us. If you are new to the channel, I appreciate you stopping by, and I hope you'll come back. Hit that subscribe button. And for those of you who are regular, thank you for your support. I honestly mean that. And without y'all, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. So until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network